Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to welcome to the show Grant Lockhead, who is the founder and managing director of OBP Motorsport, which stands for Optimum Balance Products Motorsport. Grant, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good to be here.
Good, and we're delighted to have you on, finally, because we met briefly at the Birmingham Autosport event.
That's
right?
correct,
A couple of months ago, Pim, who's the CEO of the STC, introduced us, and you had a stand at Autosport with, from memory, race simulator setup, which I had a go on. I wasn't particularly good at it, but nor was Pim, for that matter, but fantastic. So first of all, how was the Autosport event for you?
It was very good. Yeah, it was a very good event, well attended.
Yeah.
We had some very, very good leads come from it, which we're still working on now.
Great.
So, yeah, can't really complain about that.
Good, and that's where we met, which is good, and that's why I asked you to come on the show, so thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Grant, as is customary, as I always say, this exact same line, as is customary, I'd like to just quickly run through quick sort of education stroke career background, just so our listeners can understand your journey in sort of motorsport and engineering. So is it okay if I quickly run
that's
through
fine,
that?
Chris.
I grabbed all this off LinkedIn, so correct me if any of that's wrong. Education-wise, so you went to the Bircham Newton Engineering College, which is where you sort of learnt your trade. And then the beginning of your career for the first sort of near decade was a combination of sort of engineering and sort of learning your trade, as well as a bit of sales and marketing.
That's correct.
So that you could sort of learn how to sort of promote what it is that you're working on. And then in 98 to 05, you became the operations director for Luego Sports Cars. Have I pronounced that correctly?
That's correct, yeah. Luego Sports Cars.
Luego Sports Cars, and presumably that sounds sort of Spanish. Is that Spanish?
That's correct, yeah. It was the name was influenced from a trip to Spain at one time.
Fine, okay. And then in 06, having spent thick end of 15 years sort of cutting your teeth, as it were, and then in 2006 you opened OBP Motorsport, which is still running today, and from what I've read and the conversation we had before we started recording, is growing and growing well, such that you've sort of evolved it into a group business with a few strands. So for those that haven't heard of OBP before, what do you guys do, and can you sort of run us through the three main divisions of the company and what you guys sort of specialise in?
Yeah, not a problem at all, Chris. Cool. OBP Motorsport is a company that manufactures lots of motorsport components that we then sell to our partners throughout the world. Mm-hmm. It's predominantly accelerator, brake and clutch units, so pedal box assemblies is where we started the business from. Yeah. From that, we started creating lots of aluminium products, from fuel tanks, swirl pots, catch tanks, right through to hydraulic handbrakes. We've also created our own master cylinders, and the list has really grown from that initial product, which was the pedal assembly. Most of the products have come from talking to our partners and asking what they require and what they're having trouble with, and then we've developed those products in line with the partners' requests.
So what you're saying there is you've actually asked the question, you've listened, and then you've built
Exactly that.
Okay.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Nothing magic there, but
nothing. No, not rocket science.
Not enough businesses actually do that.
Yeah, and from that we've developed a very, very strong line of products that fit within our range of partners. We have some very strong partners in the UK. Demon Tweaks, Merlin Motorsports, Rally Nuts, just to name a few of the UK ones. Then we have GT2i in France, and we have dealers in Germany, Italy, etc., etc. And through those relationships, we developed a very, very strong sales revenue, and that keeps increasing year on year.
Good.
We are intending to transfer the business slightly in 2020, where we stop retailing directly to customers. I had to do that in the beginning because I had to make sure enough money was coming in.
Sure.
We've got to a point now where I want to put a lot more emphasis on my partners' relationships and get them to do the sales to their retail customers, and they're not in conflict with us. I feel that will be a growth for them, and it will enable us to really concentrate on the partners rather than spreading ourselves maybe a little too thin trying to develop the retail side of the business. That's happening in 2020. At the moment, the signs are really strong that it's going to happen. We're seeing an increase in partner sales, so they're definitely getting on board. We want obviously everybody to get on board that's our partners, and we are slowly working through the list, and so far it's definitely going the right direction.
Cool. And so talk to us about sort of as a group business, the sort of different individual sort of departments or divisions that you've got. So I've read on the website you've got OBP 4x4, OBP Motorsport, and something that's relatively newer, OBP Special Ops, which I think we'll come to at the end. So sort of treat me really simply, if you can, if you imagine I'm really stupid, what's OBP 4x4?
OBP 4x4 basically is another outlet to specialise in 4x4 product range. We do a lot of aluminium products, things like the Defender, sort of like header tanks and things like that, which are replacement for the plastic ones that they have a lot of problems with.
Okay.
If they're competing or they're using them for anything but just general road use, the plastic ones can split.
Okay.
So they replace them with aluminium products.
Sure.
We do a lot of that. We've just done a range of pedal pads for a partner that in the 4x4 world. I can't really say the name because I don't like disclosing where they get their products from. Obviously do NDAs and things like that. But they're a very successful company in the aftermarket sort of high level Land Rover area, and we're working with those guys on quite a few products at the moment. So the 4x4 is it's not a massive company, but it's definitely quite a nice bit of business that we pick up from that. And the Special Ops is really a business where we're trying to offer solutions to customers. So if they've got an issue with a CNC part, an aluminium product, it could be anything out of metal really, from titanium to whatever required. We can look at it, and it's developing solutions. We want customers to come to us and with a problem, and hopefully we can overcome that problem for the price that they're trying to achieve at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a list here of the services. So if I quickly read through these, so you've got sort of design, is sort of headlines. So you've got technical drawings, product creation, CAD design, obviously 3D printing, rapid prototyping, and then you've got the manufacturing piece of that, so fabrication, machining, laser welding, laser etching, and then materials, as you've said, so some mild steel, stainless, aluminium, titanium, composite, and plastic and nylon. So that's a pretty broad range.
It is indeed,
that you guys can specialise in, and so presumably for business owners listening to this, and certainly those within the Silverstone technology cluster and Silverstone Park, presumably that's a big area where potentially they can sort of bolt in and use you guys.
Absolutely, without a doubt, it's definitely an area that I feel that would be a fantastic fit for all the Silverstone cluster members. And I really do feel that if they reach out to us, I think we can make their lives easier. That's basically the bottom line. I'm trying to develop something that they can come to us, and they can rely on us to either solve the problem or be dead honest and say we can't, and maybe come up with another solution to that issue that maybe they haven't thought about. And that's really the idea behind it. And so far it's been a massive success. It really has. We've worked with, and we are working with, some of the most successful and famous supercar companies in the world. I can't again name too many, again due to NDAs. However, they are one of the best supercar companies in the world that we do a lot of work with. and we do a lot of work with the motorsport, some of the top-end motorsport manufacturers and championship running teams and companies out there as well.
Well, a couple of those that we can talk about, because I've obviously looked at the website and done a bit of digging myself. So you've got sort of relationships with the VUHL sort of race vehicle, who sort of headline obviously the Race of Champions, which was recently in Mexico. So let's talk about that in a sec, and also sort of the mini challenge, which you guys are involved with as well. So let's talk about VUHL quickly, because I've got actually a sort of an old acquaintance of mine called Clayton Kingsman, who's a sort of brand ambassador for VUHL. He's coming on the podcast.
We know Clayton. Yeah,
so you know Clayton. So you met him before. So talk to us about VUHL. So how did you get involved with them, and what do you guys do, and what's the partnership there?
Well, the relationship started with VUHL was at Autosport about 6 years ago, I would think. I went and knocked on their door, basically. I went and saw them, and I spoke to Urka, who's one of the founding members of VUHL, and explained to them what we did and what we could do for them. Took about sort of, I would say, about 18 months to throw some ideas and get some drawings together between the two of us, and we got them the prototype pedal system for their 05RR model of car that they produce in Mexico. It's a fantastic two-seater car. It's electrically fast, and it's just a really great little car. Brilliantly balanced, very, very lightweight, and is it's a fantastic piece of equipment. Very well made, which is a real privilege to work with a company like that. And the fit has been very, very positive. From that, we've done lots of other little projects with them, and hope to do a lot more going forward with VUHL.
Good, and that all came from an Autosport event.
It really did. Yeah, it was. I was exhibiting at an Autosport. I saw the VUHL car there. I really liked the look of it, and
it's a good looking car.
Yeah, and I thought, I think we could do something with these guys, and got chatting to, like I say, to Urka, and it just went from there, really. And they are incredibly happy with what we do for them and what we supply them. The quality is exactly what they're looking for, and it's for a high-end product that they're selling. It's a good fix.
Long may that continue. And what about the mini challenge? So how are you involved with what is the mini challenge, and how are you involved with it?
Well, the Mini Challenge, or the Mini Challenge UK, is a championship that is all the Gen 5 minis. Fantastic championship. As I said, Anthony has done a brilliant job with that championship. He's created basically a mini touring car with full sequential gearbox, with a fantastic, obviously with our pedal system in it, with our handbrake in it, with lots of components from top manufacturers like Alcon, who we work very closely with on a regular basis. We do a lot of work with Alcon. They have the Alcon calipers and mass cylinders. They use our pedal box. They use our handbrake. They use some other aluminium products.
In all the vehicles?
In all of the race cars.
Brilliant.
In every single Gen 5 race car has our system in it.
How did you secure that as a partnership?
It was something that Anthony approached me actually about sort of 4 or 5 years ago now, because he was looking for a quality pedal system that was at affordable cost, and that's something that we pride ourselves on. We try to create a product in the motorsport and anything that we do that when people get it, they are happy with it and they can see where they've spent their money. It's very important for us. That's an ethos I've built the business on, and I will continue to build the business on. Anthony came to us and said he was after a pedal solution for the Mini Challenge race car that he was developing at the time. It was a brand new series. Mini Challenge has been going for a long time, but these Gen 5 cars were brand new. And I worked with him on the project. We developed a pedal system for him, and from that they've used all of them, in their race cars. Great. Some of them have been in their race cars now, I think, for nearly 4 seasons. So it sort of proves that they last. They last.
Yeah. And that's just, and so they're based, the Mini Challenge is just in the UK. Are they doing it overseas at all in the future?
Yeah, they are actually. They're branching out. I know for a fact they're moving into Japan and doing Mini Challenge Japan. I know there's talk as well of Australia as well is in the talks as well. So
OBP are going to be over in Asia and Australasia.
Absolutely, yeah. We've already built the first Japanese prototype car, and there's a few of them out there now that they're sort of getting the interest and trying to get the people down on the paperwork so they can sort of like move forward with the championship in Japan.
There it is. I've also read a little bit and also experienced it myself at the Autosport about esports. So how are you guys And where are you guys with esports?
Okay, that sort of came about 18 months ago now. I could see the development in esports. There was a huge growth in it and some very good products coming through, but I couldn't see any motorsport manufacturers actually directly going at it. The only ones I've seen is Quaife. They've done a really nice H-box for the simulator, which is a very nice unit. But there was no real pedal systems. There was some systems that were out there that were pretty good, but they weren't from motorsport manufacturers. And I just thought, that seems crazy. You know, I want to fill that void. So I've developed a simulator hydraulic pedal system, which is using hydraulics in there, so it gives you an incredibly real feel. You can adjust the tension on the return, so you're getting full feedback from the pedals. I've also developing with a couple of other partners, one in America and one in Germany. In America, I'm developing a load cell simulator system, which is slightly different technology, but it's the load cell technology. And in Germany, I'm working with another great company, and we're developing strain gauge technology.
Okay. So what's that? What does that mean?
Okay, strain gauge is it's a matrix that is placed onto a material that then is stretched. So under tension, the material will stretch maybe a micron or two. And from that, it will be registered from the strain gauge equipment, then that sends a signal to the PC or to the PC board, and then that transfers into a recognisable signal that then the simulator can take on board.
Okay.
They all do. That's how the strain gauge. So it's actually the stretch of the material on that one. The hydraulic one is through pressure. We put a pressure switch in the line, which then reads the pressure of how much pressure you're putting into the hydraulic system, and that gets sent to the system, to the simulator system. And the load cell is a similar thing. It's just taken. It's very, very similar to what goes into a set of scales.
Okay.
They have load cells in them. They measure how much resistance is being forced on them, and that's another piece of technology that we're developing in the US. I envisage simulators to the simulators equipment that we're developing. We want to be developing hardware for simulators. I'm not that interested in any of the software side of it. So really, I want to develop. Definitely, the pedal box is one thing at the moment that we've pretty much done all. Well, we've done all the development. It's coming out to market in March this year. We've already got a lot of companies really interested in it. I've actually got one company coming to see me next Wednesday to demo it, and he's looking at taking 30 units off us.
Okay.
So you know, that's an incredible order.
Happy days.
Very, very so. It will be an awesome thing to pull that off. From a conceptual idea, from researching it, as you always do, to see whether there's a market, understanding the market, talk to the people in the market, and then try and develop a product that is better than what's out there.
Yeah, you need to speak to, if you haven't already, Virtually Entertained, who are on site. So I had those boys on season 1.
I'd love to, yeah. We'd definitely have to talk to them.
They're basically just around the corner from this office, so that they're on Silverstone Park. And
I do. So I think there's is it the Sim Hut or something like that around here. I deal with those guys. We're talking to those guys, and it's all of those organisations are paying an interest in what we're doing at the moment. But it's really early days for us, and. Sure. We want to make sure that it's the right product when it goes out. We've done a great deal of testing on it. We took it to Autosport and got it absolutely jumped on by
and me.
Well, you were one of the people, and I can assure you there were some big people jumping on that system, and it did exactly what we wanted to do. And the feedback from the drivers,
as in some proper drivers, is what you're trying to say. People that can actually use it and drive properly.
The feedback from the proper drivers, because we do have all sorts, as you well know, at these sort of shows, and we wanted to get the feedback from non-drivers and pro drivers and everything. And the pro driver feedback was remarkable. It really was.
Wow.
We were very pleased. A couple of little tweaks from the feedback, and I think we've got something that is special and stands alone in the market.
Well, all feedback's good feedback, right? It's all about listening to it, as you've clearly done at the beginning of launching the business.
Absolutely.
Listen to the feedback and build and learn. So, okay, so we've got group business. Look at sort of more sort of 4x4 in the main. You've also got a newer sort of special ops, which is basically covering basically a full sort of consultancy service with then implementing whatever sort of solution they need to implement, you know, specific to their firm.
Yeah, we've just bought actually a CNC rolling machine, which is a full automated CNC rollers, which enables us to do lots of different shaped tanks now. So we can obviously do the round ones, we can do oval tanks, we can do square tanks on it with radiused edges, we can do triangle tanks. You know, the scope on that has really opened it up to a wide range of options, and it's becoming a really, really good tool for our partners so far and our customers. We're finding a very, very big use for that. It's something that I want people to be aware of. It's not a usual thing to have. It's a CNC sheet metal rollers. A lot of people have press brakes and obviously things like that to fold it, but this will actually roll it. So it's an interesting product, and I hope that's going to take off quite well.
Yeah, well, and these sorts of things, certainly if you haven't already, you know, the STC website has got a sort of blog, newsletter sort of section to it where you can obviously be posting.
Absolutely, I'll have to do that. I haven't done that, Chris.
Articles like this. That's something I'd recommend.
Yeah, okay.
You need to ensure you shout about these sort of things that are sort of niche and slightly different to potentially what other member firms might be offering. So yeah, definitely do that if you haven't done that already. Okay. So business-wise, let's talk about the sort of business genesis. So you launched the business presumably by yourself in 2006.
That's correct.
And so that was presumably in a sort of small unit or garage?
It was actually a garage, yeah.
Okay. And so what was that like? So just for people listening who are thinking about maybe starting their own business or just interested. So what was it like opening, you know, your business, your brand, your vision? Was it shit scary? Was it exciting?
Without doubt.
Was it everything in between?
It was exciting. I mean, luckily I had obviously quite a bit of experience in business prior to that, running the two-seater sports car company. Yeah. I designed the pedal system, so it was something that I had a lot of faith in, and obviously because I'm a hydraulic engineer, knew that it'd be something that I could maybe take to the next level. I took that idea away when I sold the business. I negotiated it with the new owners that I was going to take a derivative of that product, not exactly the same. They were absolutely fine with it.
Good.
So I took that away, I redesigned it and repackaged it. Could see there was a bit of a hole in the market in the pedal box arena. You could get the very cheap sort of like, cheap, I don't want to say cheap Chinese because it's not fair, but the cheap copies and cheap models of pedal boxes. And you had the top end, like the APs and the Tilton 900 series and things like that, which we were getting into, thousands of pounds for. And there was nothing really in the middle that fitted well to the Clubman Motorsport guys. They either had not that great product or had to go really expensive or make do. And that's really where the pedal box, I wanted to position it there. And from that, it started to sell. So I developed the system up in my garage myself, welded it and fabricated it and did everything that you need to do. Got it out to market. It started to sell really well. And from there, it's just sort of developed from that point on. Going back to your initial question, was it scary? Yes, without a doubt. It was, I was going into I knew it. I knew the business pretty well, but I was still going into the unknown. I'd done all my research, and I felt that there was something there. Yeah. And it wasn't until, obviously, like anything, until you complete the product, test it, get it out to market, that you actually know that people are going to buy it. Yeah. And from that day, it's just grown and grown. We've been lucky enough to have partners come on board. People like Demon Tweaks was a real help to us at the early stages because it was a big brand. It's incredibly well known. They sort of approached me about that and asked whether I would be interested in offering our pedal systems, because they could see there was a hole that they didn't have filled, and we filled that hole from my market research and etc. So that was a really good fit, and that was one of the first big major partners that I had on board that then gave me the confidence, I suppose, and the belief that I was onto something.
Yeah, and clearly.
I was onto something. And then from that, as I said before, we've developed lots and lots of other products by listening to our partners.
And 13 years later? company's still growing.
Absolutely.
Based over sort of near Peterborough, just outside Peterborough.
Yeah, we've got a factory there, which we do all the fabrication and assembly, quality control, etc., etc. Is all done there.
And how big's the team? So it started with you in a garage, and so what's the sort of employee count at the moment?
Yeah, it started with me in a garage, and now I employ 16 people, and then myself as well, ranging from managers, operation managers, to head of motorsport, to guys in the factory, machine operators, CNC operators, sheet metal fabrication, aluminium welders, stores control, stock control, etc.
All very real.
All very real.
From one man up to sort of dozen plus, and presumably, when you sort of look back at that journey, presumably you reflect with sort of pride, and presumably some of the team have been with you from quite early on, and they're still there and they've developed.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. It's been an interesting journey. I'm not going to lie. There's been some ups and downs, like any business. Yeah. First 3 years, there's anything is just sort of hanging in there, really. Once you get over that, it tends to get a little bit more stable. I wouldn't say easier, because that's just doesn't happen. Business is not easy at any stage. No. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to have a few guys come on with me. There's Sam, Mark and Steph, came with me when they were quite young lads. Now Mark is the special operations manager, so he looks after that side of that business. We've also got Sam. He's now the head of operations, which looks after the factory side of things and stuff like that. And also we've got Steph, who's sort of like the workshop manager. And they started with me, I think they were Sam, for example, I think was 17, something like that, when he started with me. Okay. Now he's got his own house, drives about in a nice little BMW, and he's just got married not long ago, and he's expecting a baby any minute. Great. Literally any minute. Great. What a success story. And I'm really proud of all the guys for sticking with me. As I say, it's been an interesting journey, but they've stuck with me, they've believed me, and together, I'm a massive believer in teamwork. I can't do this on my own, it's impossible. And I need my team to work with me and develop with me. And as I say, those three guys have just been absolutely awesome. Taken on a new guy, James, as well, in the sales side of things, and he's been an absolute star and really is, I think, going to be an absolutely incredible asset of the business. So we're still growing. We're just taking another Emily, which is going to be sort of like sales supervisor. So she starts with us in a couple of weeks. So we're still growing. The team's getting bigger. So in a couple of years' time, I'll get you back on again for an update. Absolutely, I'd love to do that, Chris. A few more back on, doubled and taken over Asia and Australasia. Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. A team overseas. We maybe do this interview over in Japan. That'd be nice. Yeah. Silverstone Technology Cluster. So we're recording this podcast today in the Silverstone Park Innovation Centre, where obviously your firm is a member of the Silverstone Technology Cluster, as well as my firm Longhurst. So when did you sort of join the STC, and what's your sort of feedback so far? Okay, I joined now, I think we're two years ago, something like that. It was Pim. So at the beginning then? Yeah, pretty right at the beginning. Yeah. Pim is someone that I've known for quite a few years, and we've worked together on various things over the years. And he approached me because he got involved with the STC. Approached me about it, and I really liked the sound of it. To be honest, it was an incredibly high level of technical ability within this cluster. Yes. And obviously is going to grow. Yes. Yeah, it was obvious to me right at the beginning that what Pim and Roz and the team were all putting together was going to grow. And I thought, right, okay, yeah, this sounds like a good idea to get involved at the early stages. It's been really great. We've definitely had some really good leads, and we've got some business out of it. Some of the courses that Pim offers as well, or the STC offer, are very, very interesting. A lot of the 3D stuff that they've been working on recently has been very interesting. I feel that the fit for what we're doing with the special ops is a fantastic fit with the STC. Okay. Hopefully some of you guys may motorsport as well, and then the motorsport side of the business might be a fit.
Yeah.
But generally, I think for special products and things like that, in the STC is where we will have the most growth with special operations.
So presumably we can get, or you can give me a sort of hyperlink to the Special Ops website so that we can stick that in the show notes.
Absolutely.
So for those listening to this thinking, okay, let's look into that a bit more, there'll be a link in the show notes, everybody, so you can find it.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we're 28 minutes in to the podcast already. Hasn't it gone quickly?
Yeah. It flies by when having fun, Chris.
Flies by, you say, with a smile on your face. Yeah, it's all good. Look, this was painless, right?
This is painless. I don't mind talking about myself.
Exactly. You know,
everybody does.
It's a great idea for a podcast. Bring business owners on and talk about their business and themselves. But then we make them a little bit cringy because we'll then start getting them to talk about themselves and embarrassing mistakes. So let's move on to that. So, embarrassing mistakes. So the premise for me and the genesis for me asking people about embarrassing mistakes is that we all make them, whether they're sort of personal or professional, and there can be key lessons in there. And so for me, I thought, look, we want to sort of share business lessons with people listening to this, to sort of humanise what we do and our specific sort of specialisms. And also occasionally to have a bit of fun and a bit of a laugh, so that sort of special interest group events, like you were saying, that Pim and the team run, or any social events that the Silverstone Park put on, sometimes people recollect a funny story that someone else has shared. So is there anything in Grant's locker, anything that's happened in your past, sort of business-wise or otherwise, that you'd be prepared to share that's sort of funny or embarrassing?
Well, I've got quite a few, but some I need to sort of, maybe not some of them. One that I can think of was only last year at the PMW show, Cologne in Germany. Okay. I flew out there on the Wednesday, I think it is, or Thursday. Anyway, it's the night where they have their big gala dinner. I usually sort of go to that and have a bit of fun. They always have free wine, which is always a bit of a dodgy area, and the ladies that deliver the wine are very, very efficient at it. Okay. So I'd gone to that, and I'd had maybe a few too many wines that evening, and we had a bit of networking do afterwards, and everything was absolutely fine. At that time, though, I didn't have my own room. I was only there for one night. So James, who's the head of motorsport, said, "I tell you what, just crash in my room. I've got two beds. Do you know what I mean? It's nice, pushed together European type things. We just split them apart, and you only here one night." And we're like, okay, well, keeps the cost down, obviously, which is always good. Keeping the budget under control. So I was like, that's a great idea. Anyway, after the gala dinner, I was a little bit drunk. We went back to the room, and to sort of a bit embarrassing, I sort of woke up cuddling James. And a little bit freaked out James with me sort of cuddling him, spooning him.
You hadn't pushed the beds apart?
We had, but somehow I sort of got over into his bed. And I was a little drunk at the time, and it was a little scary moment for James. Sure. He did work with me prior to that, and then he came back to work with me, and he hadn't been working with me very long at that point. So it was one of those moments. Luckily, James is a great guy and could see the funny side of it.
Sure, and presumably,
but it does keep coming up all the time.
Yeah, I bet it does. Presumably, you had some clothes on, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I had boxer shorts on.
Sure, okay.
But it was still just phenomenally embarrassing.
What a great story.
Yeah, it's something. I can be a little bit like that at times.
No, it's good. And we've now shared it with our wonderful dear listeners. So thank you for that. Oh, great. Right, before I get on to the very last question, is there anything I haven't covered off or we haven't spoken about? So we've covered off, obviously, the different divisions of your company, what you do. We've spoken about a couple of the partnerships you've got. So VUHL, Mini Challenge. Obviously, you're very successfully venturing into esports because of the high growth potential, which I'm in agreement with. I think, I'm a gamer by sort of background. I love gaming, and I just think there's a massive
without a doubt.
There is no doubt about that at all.
I mean, there's professional sim drivers.
Sure.
And they're doing very, very, very well for themselves as well. When it becomes a professional sport, you've got to take notice of it. And hopefully, we got there a little bit before the curve. Yeah, well, I think you have. I think you have. And as I said, there's a couple of firms on site, definitely Virtually Entertained. You need to be, if you haven't already, you need to go and chat to those guys. Is there anything that whilst we've got you on air and you've got this time, is there anything that you want to sort of shout out or say just to make sure we've delivered? I think we've covered everything, I think. Yeah, well, I think we've covered everything.
I'll include some links in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
People can easily find certain pages on your website or anything you want to shout about. Fine. Last question, which has changed. The last question in the first series was always about giving me some life advice. I'm selfish, I'm the host. But, what can I learn from you, as it were? But I've changed it for this season because we know that we've got some students listening from some of the local tech colleges and local sixth forms because of partnerships that Silverstone Park and the STC have got with them. So the sort of feedback I want to try and give to those students and also to the rest of the business owners listening to this is advice that you would potentially give in yourself at a younger age. So if you can envisage a couple of decades of learning and becoming the master in your field, which you clearly are, and running a business that's clearly successful and going to continue to be successful. If you could go back to when you were a young lad, what one bit of advice would you give yourself? I still
stand by this, actually, and it's something that I did learn not late in my career, but I did sort of pick up on it, that it is so important, is research. Is research your market, understand your market, and understand your customers. It's so many companies or individuals think they have a product and they go run off with it. It could be the best product that's ever been developed, but they haven't really spoken to the right people about it, understood maybe there's some slight changes that need to be made to make that product work. And I personally think research is definitely a major factor in any decisions that are made. Basically, running a business is you will always risk. Risk is there. It's there every single step of the way. It's understanding the risk and sort of and reducing that risk to the minimum you possibly can. And that's my advice. Sometimes you just have to be bloody minded anyway and just go for it. Like I did in the early days, and and sometimes you just have to believe in what you're doing, but still listen to what the feedback is just critical. Negative feedback is just as good as positive feedback, absolutely. If not better.
Agreed. Constructive critique.
Absolutely.
Critique is the most valuable feedback, because how else are you genuinely going to learn?
Listen to that. It would be my advice to anybody out there, is listen to that critique, listen to that feedback. And, if it's from 2 or 3 different people or 2 or 3 different companies, then, you've got to take it on board. You can't just carry on going down the direction you're going in. And that's my advice, would be flexible, listen, and adapt to what the market needs.
I think also with the critique is it helps you learn how to take stuff on the chin. It helps you put away your pride for a moment and potentially your ignorant pride to think, actually, do you know what? I'm getting feedback from someone that's potentially more knowledgeable, or more importantly, is my target market. I've got to listen to that, otherwise we could die. The business could
absolutely, without a doubt. If you don't do that, like you say, I think you're going into an unknown, and so you're increasing your risk before you've even started.
There we are. Boom.
Thank you very much.
Grant, thank you. 36 minutes.
Excellent.
Great
That's
interview.
Not so bad, is it?
Thank you for coming on. I'm delighted that we met at Autosport. It seems to be a great place for you to go, because obviously you get success with VUHL and other relationships, and you get to come on the Inside Silverstone podcast. So, boom.
Excellent stuff. Thank you.
Grant, thanks for coming on, and look forward to speaking and seeing you again in due time.
Well, I look forward to coming and see you again in a couple of years and see where we got to at that point.
Nice one. Cheers, Grant.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.